Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this first of, I think, about 12 sessions we're going to be having. And this afternoon, we're going to be talking about challenges of adolescents and young persons. So this is going to form the foundation of what the entire comprehensive sexuality education, sexual and reproductive health and right issues will be about. So permit us this afternoon, we're going to be sharing a lot of audio files so that you can listen at your own pace. I'll try to see if we can label the audio files, audio file 1, audio file 2, so that way at least you know where you have listened to. We understand that some of you have other engagements at this time, and so you might not be able to listen, while the session is on. But for several of you who can, we want this to be very interactive. We want this to be very engaging. We're going to send a slide now in PDF. So we're going to use the slide for the presentation. So you get to follow the slides. If you have questions, feel free to ask, the questions when the time for questions actually come. But for me to know that you are here, my name is Shola. For me to know that you are actually here, I would like to see a wave of hand. Okay, so just show a wave of hand, right in the the WhatsApp group here. So I'm sure that people are also waiting here at the agreed time to actually follow through. Once again, good afternoon. All right, fantastic, everyone. So what are we going to be covering in the course of this session? We want to be out of here before 5. We're going to be looking at the various terminologies that has to do with adolescents and young persons. That's the slide we've sent into the group, so you can just skim through. But except you listen to the audio file, you might not get all the information. What are those things when it comes to AYPs? What are the characteristics of AYPs? And then what exactly are the challenges of AYPs? And what are the solutions that we can begin to look at when we actually talk about, AYPs, especially here in Nigeria, okay? So who exactly then are AYPs? If we talk about young people, if we talk about adolescents, why do we call them AYPs? Okay, we have various terminologies. You say someone is a teenager, right? So we're talking about teen years. We talk about puberty. I'm sure some of you must have heard about millennials. Some persons are called, those guys belong to the generation Z. Some other persons will say, oh, I'm a youth. Some other person will say, I'm a young person. So how do we make sense of all of this information when we're talking about challenges of AYP? So that's the premise, basically to this. Okay. So in another minute, I would add all of that. To be sure that you are following, can you share with me the flag of which country now? Let's do the flag of Nigeria, okay? So just look for the flag of Nigeria and put it in a group there. I'll be sure that you've listened up until this point. Okay, Onyi, thank you very much. We have the first one there. That's the flag. So when we talk about in terms of age, when we talk about adolescents, the WHO, we're talking about people between ages 10 and 19. Okay, so anytime you hear this is an adolescent, you're talking of people between ages 10 and 19. A teenager, of course, we're talking about teen years, 13, 14, 15, 16, up until 19. And when we talk about the young people, we're talking about people between ages 10 and 24. So you can see that, yes, all adolescents are young people, right? But not all young people are adolescents. But when we talk about youth, we're talking about people between ages 15 and 24. So if you're applying for anything within the UN system and they say is the person a youth, they're talking of people that are not older than 24. The African Union, for example, talks about people between ages 18 and 35. And then here in Nigeria, we have something called the National Youth Policy. The National Youth Policy, which is very recent, only talks about persons between ages 18 and 29. Okay, so once you are 30, according to the National Youth Policy here in Nigeria, you are no longer a youth. Okay, and then we have this very interesting definition. They say, oh, they are millennials. Okay, these are people that are also called Generation Y. Anybody born between 1982 and 2000, right, is actually a millennial. And then we have the Generation Z, which several of you actually belong to. Anybody born between 1995 and 2015 is actually categorized and seen as a part of Generation Z. Okay, to move ahead still, when we talk about definition, anytime we talk about adolescence, we're talking of a clear transition between an individual being a child and then being an adult. So the problem with that period in life is that you cannot call the person a child, and at the same time you cannot call the person an adult. So if you see someone who is let's say 15 or 16, for example, the youngest person in this WhatsApp group is 16, if I remember correctly. Yes. So you can't call a 16-year-old and say, call that child for me, right? The person will feel offended. And at the same time, you can't see the person and say, call that man for me. The person will also feel offended, like, no, I'm not a man, right? But again, you are not a boy, you are not a man, you are not a girl, you are not a woman, right? So you are somewhere in between. So we prefer, call me, my guy, my G, a lady, for example. So it's an age where the adolescent does not belong. That should belong to either the young or the older generation. I'm on page 6 of the slide for those of you wondering where I am. Think of adolescents as floaters. They are not here, they are not there. You have a lot of sudden changes. Their physical appearance will change. The girls will begin to develop breasts in the right places, right? Because again, puberty has set in. The boys' voices will get deeper. They are interested in several other things beyond what a child would actually be interested in. So in terms of definition, that's exactly what it is. Now, during adolescence, one of the things that also happens to young people is that they begin to think and act matured. They want to be on their own. They don't want to depend on daddy and mommy again. Now, it's at this age that they begin to think, okay, what can I do? I also want to start making a little money for myself. They want to be the captain of their own ship, SHIP, okay? They want to be the captain of their own ship at this particular point in time. I'm sorry for this typos. All right, so what else do we need to know about adolescent in terms of characteristics? They are very experimental. So a typical adolescent will tell you that, no, I can try it. Who says I can't actually smoke? Let me have a stick of cigarette there. Let me try this. They are also very adventurous. Several years back, I was in part 2 in the university or so. A senior friend called me and said, this was back in Ife. A senior friend who had been posted to Jigawa called me and said that he forgot his call-up letter. Okay, that means that there's no way he would actually be admitted into camp. He had called all of his friends and all of them said no. And he asked if I could leave Ife then for Jigawa. I didn't even think about it twice, right? Because I was clearly an adolescent at that particular point in time. I wanted the adventure. I wanted to see what the other side of the country looked like. And that was my first time. And I traveled all the way. It was a 2-day trip. Came from Ife to Ibadan, from Ibadan, took a night bus to, I wasn't even afraid that anything could happen at night, right? And then got to the camp and then left almost immediately just to go and drop a document. Of course, we couldn't think of DHL then because we didn't want to take a risk. He had a deadline. If the document doesn't get there, he's actually going to be in trouble. So we couldn't think of any, postal service at that particular point in time. So it's a clear characteristic of being an adolescent or a young person. You are very adventurous. If they tell you that something would happen to you, don't drive your dad's car like that. You say, no, even if I drive it, nothing would happen to me, right? It might happen to others. So it's typical to see an adolescent at this point in time and say, no, I'm not using any nose masks. Nothing can happen to me, because we always feel that, look, it can't happen to me, but it can actually happen to other persons. AYPs also like spending a lot of time with their friends. They want to be with their peers. Let me be, daddy, I don't want to be with them. Some of them don't even want to spend time, with their siblings. They want to be with friends. They want to hang out. This is also one very clear quality of them. And then again, they also love to use modern gadgets. They want to use the latest iPhone. They want to change their phone almost every month. For some individuals, they want to buy the best laptop out there. They just love, tech issues. They want to be on all social media platforms. So if you're following me up onto this point, find an emoji of a mobile phone and put it in a group. That way I know that you're followed up until this point. All right, for those of you just joining us, thank you so much as well. We're talking about the challenges of AYP. This is the 6th audio file. So one of the characteristics of AYP is the fact that they also begin to get attracted to the opposite sex. Wow. So that girl who used to have a bath, outside the compound no longer wants to do that. That boy who used to be very dirty going to school now washes his uniform, every night before he sleeps. Why is he suddenly interested in looking very neat, right? Someone is saying hello and hi he wants to say hello and hi to somebody again. Musa, who used to be just, carefree, is now shy. when he's actually talking to Amina. So these are some of the things that we clearly see happening. Okay. So that's how it is. When it comes to AYPs, they are highly dependent and easily influenced by their peers. Several young persons don't want to take decision alone. Say, are you going for lectures today? I'm not going for lectures today. Okay, if you're not going, I'm also not going. Right? They don't like doing things, basically on their own. AYPs always think that mommy and daddy are wrong. This is my parent. This is not how it is done. They just don't understand. Okay, and they have role models they want to be like. You want to be the next Davido, the next Brahma, the next Simi, the next what's the name of this other lady now? You want to be the next big footballer on the scene, right? And they like to share the experiences of their friends most time. Now, this is a very interesting part. So we're sharing this session again. Remember that we want you to know, and at the same time, you can also share the same information with others. And one of the things we also see AYPs do a lot. One of the things we see AYPs also do a lot is that they like to share, the experiences of their friends most times. So you hear things like, my friend said that. My friend is actually, my friend is actually doing this, and this is exactly what I think about my friend. My friend said that, what if I use a condom? My friend said that, what if one has sex while standing up? Will one not get pregnant? My friend said that she has not seen her period in 2 weeks. Now, I'm not saying that this is, in all instances, right? But what we see several times is that young people always like to talk about the experiences of their friends because they also hang around them. And certain times they feel more comfortable actually doing this. Adedolapo, thank you very much. I can see the first mobile phone actually out there. All right, so let's take a quick break now. So we're all going to have to type. I want us all to type. So mention one thing your parents or an elderly person told you used to happen in their own days. You know the way parents used to say, in our own days. So one very popular joke is that there is no parent in Nigeria who was second in class. All our parents were first. In my own days, I was top of my class. So what are those things that parents used to say, happen in their own days? You hear things like, in our own days, girls didn't used to dress and show, their legs. You hear men say that in our own days, our haircut was always, the very bushy style. We put a style to it and all of that. So what are the things you've heard your parents actually say? That's one. And then the second thing you're going to share with us is one major experience you continue to remember and then you smile. When I was actually younger, in my early adolescent, years, these were some of the things that I did, and again, typical young person, it can also be the experience of your friends. So what do you think you did then that was adventurous, that was crazy, that looking back, that, I would never try that again? What was I even thinking when I actually did that? Okay. So let's take out time, the next 10 minutes. So just type in your own experience there, regale us with your own experience. If you want to share the experience of your friend as well, it's also very fine. Thank you. All right, so I'm reading all these experiences, and then there's water welling in my eyes. All the different stories. The guy who wanted to be a strong guy like his friends. The guy who a girl toasted and he started crying. All right, keep them coming. We'll read all of them. Okay, we'll read all of them, and the things that our parents used to tell us in our days. We used to trek. In our days, we used to be this. In our days, we used to be that. All right, so I'm reading all these experiences and I'm enjoying them. Keep them coming in if you are just getting to this point. But let me continue with the session so that by 5 o'clock, as promised, we're done. We're on slide 11 now. So why are we worried about AYPs? Why are we having this conversation about adolescents and young persons? There's a picture of a girl there. That's one of the students during our School Connect project. There's another picture there. If you look at that picture very well, it's that of a guy. He's actually one of us here in the office. We call him AYP. Interestingly, we call him AYP in the office. And if you come around us, if you ever get to our office here in Ibadan, just ask in the office that you're looking for AYP. And we have our private reasons why we call him AYP here in the office. Because typically, he's a young person, in his mid-20s, works with us here, amazing guy. And we see all the characteristics of adolescents and young persons also playing out with him, okay? So why are we talking about AYPs? There's a growing need for us to reduce debts. there's a major need for us to actually reduce diseases when it comes to young persons. This young person died yesterday from taking, an insecticide because this happened or that happened. This young person was driving his dad's car and then this happened. This young person went swimming, and then this happened. This young person went out alone at night and then this happened. So there's a growing, there are growing incidences of death when it comes to adolescents and young persons. You have instances like, it was the first time he was going to have sex. Unfortunately for him, the lady had HIV. The other way around as well. She had always, been a good girl and all of that, quote and unquote. And then she went, she got into campus. By the time she was in part 2, she got pregnant. She was trying to get, an abortion, and then in the process, she died. So we hear different things about adolescents and young person, and it's not just about that. The population of AYPs in the world today is actually massive. Okay, here in Nigeria alone, we're talking about 65 million AYPs in Nigeria alone. There's something called the youth bulge, which is talking about the fact that by 2050 the continent would actually have majority of youth population in the world. And of course, when we talk about population, you're talking about Nigeria as well. So the youth population in Nigeria is going to be massive. Now, there's also a potential harm of later life, diseases, burden, and harmful habits. So if you pick up a very horrible habit at this point in your life, if you're an adolescent or a young person, the chances are that you would grow into adulthood with that, habit is actually very huge. Okay. So if you're still following us, just to be sure that you're following us, find an emoji with a watermelon. Yes, a sliced watermelon, and drop it in the group. So that way I know that you're actually following. I'm reading all this amazing conversation. Define my parents and going to Lekki Beach with some street friends in Lagos. Came back home around 12 p.m. and the flogging was epic. Okay, so find a picture of a sliced watermelon there and drop it in the group. Let me be sure that we still have people who are following us. All right, so AYPs today are the next generation of parents. Where did our parents come from? Our parents were once adolescents, so that's why we're saying share some of their experiences. Our parents were once adolescents. They were, the next generation of leaders are currently adolescents today. They are young people today. So it's about us talking about our investment in tomorrow's, capital, in tomorrow's human capital. So we can't just waste once we waste the generation of our, this generation of AYPs, it means we're also wasting the future of the country. So that's why we're really particular about this. Why are we talking about AYP? I'm on slide 14 now. AYPs are very vulnerable to, several adolescent sexual and reproductive health issues. Their parents and guardians usually cannot address these issues, right? So if you have malaria or you have typhoid, you can run to your mom, you can run to your dad and say, please help me, take me to the hospital. But when you have a heartbreak, you don't go and meet your dad and say, it's very rare to have in a family where the young man can go and meet his dad or mom and say, Mom, man, that girl just broke my heart, man. She says, they do again. It's in pain me. And then daddy can tell you, even when I was toasting your mom didn't agree up until the 10th time. Okay, so issues like these are things that actually worry adolescents, right? And so because their parents cannot actually help them, they need to get that information. And if they are getting several of their information from their peers, chances are that the information will be wrong. So that's why we're filling this gap. We also know that generally AYPs have little knowledge about how to protect themselves. I've had an adolescent walk up to me and said, I want to really confirm, I've been using 2 condoms at the same time. I hope that's the right thing to do. I'm like, no, you don't use 2 condoms at the same time. Okay, you use 1 condom correctly and consistently as at the time when you are using it. Okay, so several of them don't have the right information. When it comes to career choice as well, it says, all my friends say I'm brilliant, right? Everybody who is brilliant is going into the science class. Can I also go to the science class, right? Everybody wants to study medicine. Should I also study medicine? And then AYPs don't also have the resources and easy access to healthcare. So even if anything is wrong with you as an adolescent today, chances are that you will likely go into a store to go and fix what your problem is. You guys have heard the story of the guy who got into the store and wanted to buy a condom, got there and then suddenly saw the neighbor. And then the man was like, what did you say you want? Got there first and said, give me condom, Oga, give me condom. And then suddenly saw the neighbor and then the man said, what did you say you wanted again? Oga, give me Combantrin. Okay, right? Because he's worried, he's scared. What is this person going to say? So access is also a big deal. So even when you have the resources, do you know where to go to? Again, why are we talking about AYPs? Their organs are not fully developed, right? And so they are even more susceptible to infections. Several AYPs are still, your menstrual period as a lady, for example, is still not very steady, right? The organs are not fully developed already. Now we're talking about COVID-19, and they are saying several things around, building your immunity, for example. If you smoke, try not to smoke again. Make sure your organs are strong enough, so that your immune system is actually strong. And so for several AYPs, several of the organs are still developing. So these are some of the reasons why we are really interested in AYP. Listen to the next, audio file, and I will share a funny finding from our own end based on the form that you guys filled, with you all. Okay, Flora, Salami, Adedolapo, Ikeolua, Alima, I see all of you. Thank you for, speeding up, doing this with speed and coming up until this point. All right, so the numbers don't lie. Now I'm on slide 15. If you don't see any slide here, right, everybody run to slide 15 and go and see what's on slide 15. Now, this is data at the back end, so when we put out that form for, online volunteers, and thank you guys once again, we don't take this for granted. 550 responses was what we had, and then we chose less than 200 for various reasons. Okay, but this was interesting to us, which also again emphasized the fact that this is why we're focusing on AYP. So the average age of people at the back end in the group, as we speak right now, the average age of people who applied, not necessarily in the group, is actually 26. So in Nigeria, a 26-year-old, for we had more males than female. A 26-year-old is not likely married in Nigeria, right? Even for ladies, not all 26-year-olds, are married. So the question, have you used a condom before? So we had 53.6% say yes, I have used the condom before. And bet me, I'm sure you didn't use the condom to blow air, right? You didn't use the condom as a balloon. And so it was used for what it was used for, right? And then we had 42.9% actually say, no, I have never used a condom before. And there's this small percentage that says, I cannot tell you, I am very shy. Okay, it's all fine, right? So let's stay with the yes and no. And then, but the point here is that, look at the percentage of people, more than half of young people, of adolescents and young persons have initiated sex, right? You don't use a condom other than the fact that, you want to initiate sexual intercourse, which is good. The fact that at least you have enough knowledge to know that, look, even in doing this, you still need to protect yourself. So what does the number say? There's always a data we rely on. So for several of you who are hoping to maybe work in a non-profit space, or you want to do things in the public health or social work later on, make sure you go and find this document. You can download it. I think we have the NDHS 2018 on our website, if I'm correct. So if you don't find it online, just go to our website, National Demographic and Health Survey. That's what the NDHS means. It shows the population of Nigeria as 191 million, approximately 200 million. It says that 23% of this population are actually AYPs, right? So that's about 44 million. Okay, and it says that if age of first sexual intercourse is 17, right, 17.2 years, and it says that we have about 19% of teenagers in Nigeria getting pregnant, and it says again that maternal mortality ratio, we have 512 per 100,000 live births. And then we have what is called contraceptive prevalence rate. That's, the rate at which young people, people are actually using contraceptives generally. It puts it at 28%. So what does this mean? 28% among sexually active unmarried women, right? This is just data for women. And then 12% among, married women. They also have a right to actually use this. HIV prevalence, we have 1.4% overall prevalence and 3%, prevalence among adolescents. We're trying to talk to someone from UNICEF should be coming in at some point to come and talk to us about HIV. What's the current statistics and rate data in Nigeria? What is it that we actually need to know as well? All right, so let's jump very quickly. We're almost done. Let's jump into challenges of AYPs. So we've identified 11 challenges. Number one is early initiation of sexual intercourse. We'll take it one after the other. We have unplanned pregnancy or unintended pregnancy. You didn't intend that it will turn into pregnancy. We have STIs and HIV. We have SGBV, which is sexual and gender-based violence. We have HTPs. HTPs mean harmful traditional practices. There's something called early marriage. There's FGM. There's what we call breast ironing as well. We'll get to this. So this happens in parts of Nigeria as well. There's also what we call unsafe abortion. We have body image and self-esteem issues. There's substance abuse. There's emotional riot. And then there's peer pressure. And finally, also choosing a career path. It's also a big deal for young people. What do I do with my life? When do I start? Do I go and become a pilot? Do I want to become a singer? I've been doing this thing, running from studio to studio for the last 3 weeks. What do I do? Do I want to be a hairdresser, for example? Do I want to further my master's in the US or in the UK? Now that COVID-19 is happening, do I want to sit back in UI? Do I want to go to University of Uyo to do my degree program? All my friends have gone to the Polytechnic, they've gotten admission. I'm still waiting to get into the university. So these are big issues when it comes to choosing a career path, right? So we'll take them one after the other. Early initiation of sexual intercourse. Now check the TV as we speak now. Put on the TV and wait for about 5 minutes. I'm sure that you see a scene that has, that shows a man and a woman somewhere, looking cool, feeling good together. It's what the media actually, pushes to our face, right? And so what happens is that we also long for relationship. We long for sexual relationship. There's also the issue of peer pressure. So you have friends. We used to have a friend in school back then. What was his name again? I can't remember his name. But this guy would come to class and regale us with stories of babes, what he would do, and all of us would be envying him and salivating, right? And so I'm sure several of us actually did certain things because of what Udo. Yes, that was our friend's name back then, Udo, right? Everybody wanted to be like Udo in class because of what he was telling us. He would tell you, can you say you don't have a girlfriend? This was in SS2 already, and this guy was controlling babes, right? You also have early sexual maturation. So girls grow, breast in good time. Boys also begin to see, pubic hair. They begin to become more aware of themselves. We also have the issue of culture and sociology. In some cases, we have, parents who even say, begin to look out for their children and say, your sister has been at home for the last whatever, make sure that once in your part one already, you're already eyeing one guy, or one guy is already eyeing you. There are also socioeconomic challenges. We see girls actually go, to offer themselves, bodies for marks. We see guys as well also saying that, look, I also want to exchange, something for mark. And it's also the other way around, where you also have lecturers also pressuring girls to say that, no, even if you are brilliant, you are still going to have to do this. So there are several instances of early sexual intercourse initiation, and this is a major challenge or concern, for young people. We don't call them problems in the non-profit space. We call most of these things challenges. We don't call them problems, okay? Because we like to keep the story positive. All right. Number 2 is unplanned pregnancy. I'm being mindful of our time. Unplanned pregnancy. So you have zero or limited sexuality education. Even if you want a condom, you don't know where to get a condom. You're not even bold enough to go and buy one. And so there are several instances of high maternal mortality in Nigeria simply because young people are getting pregnant. If you have sex, what will likely happen is that you'll get pregnant, right? So it's not possible you continually have sex and hope that you will not actually get pregnant. So there are also several social issues actually following all of this, right? We've even had instances here where we have people who want to become grandmothers early, right? So when their daughters get pregnant, they're happy to quickly, go ahead and give birth to this child because I want to be called a grandmother in my 40s. So we've seen several of those instances around here. Number 3 again is STIs and HIV. If you have a risky lifestyle, you sleep with girl A today, girl A sleeps with boy B tomorrow, so what is happening is that if girl A or boy A sleeps with girl B and C, and then girl A also sleeps with another and girl D sleeps with E and F, what is happening, what it means is that all of that, the entire pool, they've actually exchanged some level of body fluid. So if one has HIV, for example, it will actually move around. If if one has an STI, it will also move around, to be passed around. And so if you have limited access to information and services, I don't know if any of you actually had your parents sit you down and say, now that you have gained admission into the university, this is condom, keep 2 condoms in your bag just in case, right? And you have people having, boyfriends, girlfriends, side chicks, several of these actually happening. So it's a risky lifestyle, for example, that predisposes anyone to STIs and HIV. And so, and these are major, causes of death and diseases for young people. So it's a major challenge. We also have what is called sexual and gender-based violence. We know people are being, raped. We've had a case of incest. Someone shared, one of the incest case with me. A brother had impregnated a girl, and they were asking of what to do. I'm sure you guys have heard about potty party in Dubai, right? Some form of sex slavery as well. There's also sexual coercion. It's not that the person was raped, but the person was coerced. Don't worry, I'll buy this for you. Don't worry, I'll take care of you, right? So there are various coercion, especially for those under the age of 18. So because they are AYPs, it's difficult for you to report. So the only reason why we are seeing quite a number of reports is because of social media. People are getting out there to actually say a few things. So you also have things like, if you're a girl, you need to learn to be submissive. Don't look a guy in his face. So if the guy is asking you out, even if you don't like the guy, you look down. You can't tell the guy, no, I'm not interested in what you are asking, of me. For the guys as well, you're also told that you cannot cry, right? Act like a man, be a man. So statements like this continue to uphold some of our cultural norms as well. We also have harmful traditional practices. Currently, as we speak, Nigeria has the highest number of girls and women that have been caught, that have been mutilated. There are cases of male child preference. For some of you who are from a family of about 6 or 7 and you are the last male child, if you hear the story, you will hear that, oh, my dad kept on telling my mom that you must have a male child. So without putting the health of the woman at into consideration, the woman kept on having children until the male child finally surfaced. In some instances, they don't get lucky, and then the man goes ahead to marry another wife. Okay, there's also still wife inheritances. There's puberty initiation right. People say, oh, you just got, you just became a man, come and join this, our group. And we also have instances of forced or early marriages. But the Convention on the Rights of a Child says that any marriage to any child younger than 18 years old is what we call, child marriage. Okay, so these are some of the issues or some of the challenges that we actually have our adolescents and young person actually face. If you have followed me up until this point, go and look for an emoji of any animal. Just put it in the group. Any animal that catches your fancy, right? Maybe your favorite animal when you are actually doing your introduction. Put it in the group and let's see. So I'm sure that you're following up until this point. Yeah. Okay, so while we're at that, unsafe abortion is also another issue. So if you don't abstain from sex, if you don't use contraceptives, what would happen is you will get pregnant. The pregnancy wasn't planned. The pregnancy is not it's not something you want, right? And you don't want daddy and mommy to hear. And so the next thing that happens usually is that the girl and the boy, in some instances, if the boy is mindful enough to also take responsibility, begins to think about an option of abortion. And usually, because you want to do it quietly, you just want to take any suggestion, right? It usually ends up as an unsafe, abortion. Abortion is restrictive in Nigeria. The law in Nigeria has, certain conditions, so that's why we call it restrictive. There's a constitution that talks about this. There's the code of conduct, that talks about this, and then you also have the national policy as well from the Ministry of Health. So we're going to be talking about this in detail in another presentation. Each of these issues up until number 6 and up until number 11. So despite this, even as we speak right now, there's a girl somewhere trying to procure an abortion from a quack. 80% of patients with abortion complications are AYPs. This is a proven fact. And so what is unsafe abortion? Any procedure for ending an unintended, unplanned pregnancy by a person. So if it's done by a person lacking the necessary skills, so this person doesn't have the skills, wasn't trained, or it is done in an environment lacking minimal medical standards, or both. That's what we refer to as unsafe abortion. So if we talk about unsafe abortion, if you click in your head that there's also something called, safe abortion. Remember when we were talking earlier, we said that, one of the things we intend to do in the course of this session is to put all the options on the table. We want those who want to keep abstaining to know that yes, they can continue to abstain. Those who are sexually active and who want to use a condom, we want them to know that yes, there's a solution as well, right? And then those who also have partners and are faithful with their partners, yes, they can also have a solution. And then those who are gotten pregnant as well and are having worries of issues and would rather kill themselves than stay alive, right? We also want to put a solution on the table. Okay, so These are various issues around it. So there's also the issue of body image and self-esteem. You don't like yourself. I don't like how I look. They call me, I used to be called skinny bone when I was in secondary school, and it was a major worry for me. Even when I was in service here, I'll keep googling things. What can I eat to get fat? Now I'm even thinking of how do I actually shed my weight. So there are body image issues, there's self-esteem issues. Oh, my friends are being toasted, I'm the only one who is not being toasted. If you're in the hostel, for example, they say, oh, every time we go to have our bath, I have to be the last person because I don't want anybody to see my breast, I don't want anybody to see my penis. So these are major issues when it comes to self-esteem. We should make every effort to think highly of ourselves regardless of what others might think. You don't need a perfect body to have a good body image. That's the truth, right? There are several things you have, for example, that your friends do not have. There are several things that you can do that your friends cannot do. So what happens is that people prop up what it is that is their own advantage. When you guys post pictures on social media, you will never see any individual post the picture that they didn't look good on social media. It's always the best. So they take 20 pictures, they look through it and pick about 3 or 4 that complements them, and then they put it on social media, right? And then when you see people in real life, you're like, okay, that's her, but not exactly like that, okay? This is not indicting anyone, but I'm just saying that, look, beyond just what we see in terms of pictures, we need to be able to prop up ourselves and enjoy ourselves, love ourselves. So we're going to have a whole session on self-esteem. Okay, so who exactly are you? Okay, find yourself, right? We're also going to be talking about that. What exactly do you need to be doing? How do you find yourself? And it's the issue of substance abuse. This is a new now. Several things are being abused: marijuana, different improvisation are actually going on. Cocaine, different forms of cracks as well. And the very interesting one, the emotional riots. The hormones are there. You are falling in love. You're having sexual feelings. Oh, I love that guy. He doesn't love me in return. She broke my heart. The heart was not even formed yet. Even your small heart as a teenager has not yet been formed. And yet, a teenager thinks that, my heart was broken. So young people. All right, so young people, love various, play around emotions. I was in love with her, she took my girlfriend, she asked my girlfriend out, different things we begin to see. Then there's the mood swing. 1 minute you're happy, the next minute you are not. 1 minute you're interested in having conversation around sex, you are nervous about, dating girls. Let me share this story. So I grew up in Lagos. When we were growing up, there was this, I grew up somewhere called Oroshoke in Lagos State. And, I think a compound or two away from, where I grew up. There used to be these, girls then, looking back now, I just remember and I smile. And every time I want to pass by that house, my legs will be trembling because the girls, oftentimes in the evening they hang out. Because my legs will just be trembling, so I can imagine if I wanted to speak with them, then I'll be stammering. And I look back at all of this. Then last, I think 2 or 3 years back, I saw one of them, and then I, relayed this story, and we laughed about it, right? So emotional riot is a big deal for for young people, for adolescents as well at that particular age. And also, we also see instances of peer pressure. Everyone is doing it. Show me you're a man, you're a sissy. You're the only one not going to that party. Everybody is going to the beach on Saturday. So I don't know what you're going to be sitting down doing. I'm not a major football fan, but I remember in the hostel then, part 3 in the university, everybody in my room would always go out to watch football. And it was almost becoming a thing of, shame for me, right? Another issue, for example, could be the issue of abstinence. So all your friends are not abstaining from sex, and then they begin to ask you, you mean as you are like this, you are not, you are not actually abstaining. One of my colleagues in the office was, saying recently, and he said, she said that, the person who shared this story said that, also reply back and shout at the person and say, you mean as you are like this, you are having sex also every day, right? So if you choose to, be something, clarify your values if that's what you want to do, okay? Be cool with it, don't be intimidated. If everybody wants to study, medicine or law, for example, and you think that you love geography, you want to work with the Nigerian Army, for example, you want to work with the Nigerian Navy or the Air Force, and you think that geography is your password to this, and you love geography, what stops you from going to study geography in the university? So don't be moved by the pressure from various peers. So hold your own ground. So we're also going to be talking about peer pressure. And finally, career choice. How do you choose your own career? So these are some of the things that we're going to be looking at in the course of all of this. All right, guys. We're a little past 5. I'm almost done. I think about 4 or 5 more slides, and then we're out of here. Okay, so I'll just keep, through all of this. So thinking about solutions. So what is the solution to all of these challenges? Um, what are the things you want to know? So this group, for example, is one of the solutions we have come up with to say, look, we can't be everywhere, but let's break this, divide and see how we can get this information across to young people wherever it is they are. They want to learn. So you are here because you want to learn, you want to get some information, for example. But again, let's also be mindful that there are certain people who don't have this privilege. We're using technology to bridge this gap. You are using data on your phone, for example. You understand how to, work with WhatsApp. What about Yesune in the village where there's even no light? How does she even charge her phone? Where our teacher even teaches English language, using the local language, right? What happens to Semira in Kaduna, whose parents are, I don't know if you guys have come across, people that they call actively poor. And she still, they still cook with firewood in the art of Zaria. How will she get this information? She's not on this WhatsApp group, right? So that's why we think that giving this information out to several of you, you may be able to also take this information further than this place. You'll be able to share across your own platform. If you are part of conversation somewhere, you can actually add your thoughts because comprehensive sexuality education on ESRH, adolescent sexual and reproductive health and right is what we canvass for. Give all the information to young people. So it's not about teaching one how to have sex. No, that's not what we are doing. We're not going to be teaching you that this is how to have sex. So we're not going to be encouraging you to have sex. No, it's not sex education. It's called sexuality education. So sexuality education is more than instructing, instruction of children and adolescents on puberty, maturation, and reproduction. It's a little bit, deeper than that. Okay. So we have the issue of sexual health. How do you attain sexual health, for example? How do you attain reproductive health? So go through the slides and you see, the various definitions we have for reproductive health as well. And again, very importantly, is that we want to provide for you comprehensive sexuality education. And that's, according to AHI. AHI is Action Health Incorporated in 2003. It's a planned process of education that fosters the acquisition of factual information. That's correct information. You're acquiring it. The formation of positive attitudes, beliefs, and values. You also clarify your values, you own your own values, as well as development of skills to cope with the biological, psychological, sociocultural, and spiritual aspects of human development. That's what sexuality education is about. So that's why we try as much as possible to ensure that when people say sex education, we say, no, that's not what we are providing. We're providing sexuality education. So there's also what we call comprehensive sexuality education, which means we're bringing everything together. All the gaps between your transition from childhood to adulthood, we're actually bringing it together. Okay. So as I end this, we know that CSE, Comprehensive Sexuality Education, provides an opportunity to present sexuality with a positive approach, emphasizing values such as respect, non-discrimination, equality, and responsibility. So you'll never hear us, for example, discriminate against a person. We had a case here in the office. A father reached out to us. He left the daughter at home. The daughter is 13 years old. She was impregnated by the neighbor. And the father came and said, no, she can't have a child. By the time the girl got to the office, she was just jumping around the place, right? So if you come to us, for example, and say, you have been using condoms, for example, you think you want a better, method of contraception, we're happy to listen to you first and foremost. If you come to us and say, look, you want to get married at 32 as a virgin, as a girl or as a boy, and you want to take more information away from us on how to actually keep your virginity, how to ensure that you abstain from sex up until that point, we're happy to also run you through whatever it is. So it's a non-judgmental approach for us, and that's what comprehensive sexuality education is basically about. Okay, people, this is the final one. This is the final audio file. If you have listened up until this point, if you have enjoyed it, find a bowl of popcorn and drop it in the group. If you are still not sure whether you are enjoying this or not, find that emoji of that lady painting her fingers. Okay, find that emoji of that emoji of someone painting her fingers and drop it in the group. If you have not enjoyed it up until this, but if you have enjoyed it, you are having a swell time, drop the popcorn for us. Let's know. Okay, we're not feeling any form after this session. So in conclusion, this is the last bit. This is the last audio file 17. In conclusion, several adolescents and young persons, you would always have challenges, you would have concerns, you would have issues, right? But it's important that you have the right information and knowledge. There's nothing that empowers as much as information and knowledge, right? So AYP should develop basic life skills that will help them to be able to navigate thoroughly throughout life, to have a successful future. This information, you can make changes in your own lifestyle, and very, very important for us. We can't reach everybody in Nigeria, but we think that actually reaching out to you through you guys, through all of you, very amazing folks, we know that we are actually going to be able to reach out to young people. So we're asking that you don't just keep this information to yourself. You can decide to run your own tweet session with this information. You might decide to do your own podcast with this information. Do whatever it is. Just take the information out there. If you have a WhatsApp group in school, you want to tell them you have something to share, and then you talk them through this as well. If you want us in a group, for example, to come and share this as well, we're also happy to do that. Whatever form of support you want, whatever form of support you actually want, we're actually happy to provide for you. So that's exactly what this is about. So in the coming days, if you have questions, please feel free. I'm on slide 14 now. If you have questions, feel free to ask. If you want to contact us, you have our WhatsApp detail. If you want to private chat us, you are welcome to do that. So just give us a little time. We deal with a number of requests from time to time. We have projects ongoing. We're a small team. So if you look at slide 42, you'll see a picture of our team. So we have some of our board of trustee members there, some of our other stakeholders. We had a consultant doing something for us here at this point, our strategic plan. So you have pictures, one of our partners is also involved there. We're just a team of about 8 or 10. So indulge us when we don't reply you very quickly the way you want. So feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to inbox us if you have any form of questions. So the other sessions, we're going to be having the other sessions, every week we'll have one session based on the availability of our facilitator. We're also trying to bring in facilitators from other platforms, UNFPA, UNICEF, other non-profit organizations also doing amazing work in Nigeria, so that you have very diverse, experience. So by the time, we end this 3 months volunteering, you will have had a wealth of information that if anything happens, you just say Odeshi, right? Nothing spoiled. Whatever it is, your friends will begin to see you as a go-to person to actually get information. Okay. So that's exactly what this session is about. So again, thank you very much for your time. It's question time. So if you have listened up until this point, just type, the question mark, right? So I also know that, you've listened up until this point. Thank you very much once again for your time. Sorry, we're, a little past 5 p.m. But if you have questions, the office closes at about 5:30. So in between transit, we'll try and make sure that we actually respond to your question. So COVID-19 is still real. So if you're out there, use your nose masks, do what you need to do, wash your hands, and see you guys very soon, right? We're trying to fix the pre-test issue too. So hopefully by tomorrow we should have this sorted out. So that's the only thing we're going to be doing tomorrow, and then we enjoy the rest of the week up until Saturday when Loud Whispers episode 3 would be back. Thank you.